Released from jail, causing a pump to pass XLM. Yeah, we'll talk price at the end. Along with Sailor in deep trouble with paper profits. The BTC bubble bursting, says the gold maxis. XRP looks...
I say lots of naughty things, so here's your warning.
And my legs hurt. Comment down below if you know what I'm talking about. But before we get into the crypto news, I know there's a lot to get into. Pumperoni, dumperoni, lowercase p and d. Your comments come first. Paul Martin starts us off and says, people are tired of Trump's aggression on policy. They're holding gold, waiting for the economy to collapse. He said the word recession. People are stacking into gold because right now they don't know where to play the market. It's so wild with all the tariffs, with all the drama and so forth. Gold is a safe haven asset and those players are piling into it. And the gold maxis are calling out crypto. Michael Brennan says people wised up and realized that meme coins are fucking worthless. What are you going to do with the meme coin? Absolutely nothing. People know it's a waste of money and know they can put their money in elsewhere. Talking about gold. I'm pretty sure the meme coin trend is over and now people are done with that stupid shit. What about NFTs? Right? I mean, didn't we kind of think the same thing with the NFT market at first? Everyone was like, oh, this is really cool. And then we're like, oh, this is kind of freaking balls, man. By the way, happy Sunday to y'all. Balls, balls, balls. Minute Dog, who got a good storm last night, says, oh, man, I heard Tim Scott brushing off Warren's comments like she wasn't even in the room. I heard it on Paul Barron. She's dumb AF. All right. So obviously Deaton lost to Warren. But you know what we noticed with Warren? Her power is way diminished. Yeah, people aren't even taking her serious anymore. It's almost as if she's old news. Bitcoin sitting at 83,270 ETH, 1894 XRP is deeper in the red, but because they were deeper in the green with the weekend pumperoni. Can you hear me wheezing? Yeah, it has to do with racing. But what do we got? Well, we got lots of good news. Let's get right into it. Bitcoin bubble about to burst, warns Peter Schiff. And you're like, Klaus, how is this good news? Schiff is a gold bug. All right, he loves gold. He thinks everything else sucks. Schiff is to gold what Sailor is to BTC. That probably should clear everything up for you. But listen to his perspective here. The longer Bitcoin keeps quoting at elevated prices, the more damage it brings. Or at least that's the perspective Peter Schiff stands by, making it clear that every dip, every moment of market correction is one step closer to what he sees as the inevitable collapse of the financial illusion. For him, the fall is not just coming, it is necessary. Basically, Schiff owns so much freaking gold, and he loves it right now. He loves the market turmoil. He loves the fact that gold, that crypto assets are losing their steam and people are piling into gold because it's making him money. So, of course, it's just like Sailor. Just like Sailor saying, yo, you should get into BTC. Well, Michael, why? Well, because I own a lot of it. And you're like, oh, fuck, I get it now. This latest statement came after Schiff was confronted online by a user who accused him of kicking down BTC holders when the market turns red. It's obvious. He does it all the time. Here's the problem I have, though, with Schiff. His perspective is only one way. Just like Sailor's perspective is just one way. Oh, let's get into some European Central Bank news, saying that the United States is going to cause some pain for the rest of the world. The theme that you're seeing right now is big fear that we've got a downside mega crash coming. And what's really, really messed up with that is that when we look at it, they're talking about tariffs. They're talking about things tied into the U.S. economy. They're talking about the debt bubble. They're talking about presidential policies and so forth. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Let's learn. In an interview with the French weekly La Tribune Dimanche, Villeroy said that the United States risks sinning through negligence. The French senior civil servant also highlighted that the European supervisor was better secured and argued there was no risk of a banking crisis in the EU. Now he says there's no risk of a banking crisis in the EU, but then he goes right on to say that if the U.S. has problems, the rest of the world will have problems. Those two statements don't make sense. European Central Bank Governing Council Villeroy also said this: financial crises are often originating in the United States and spread to the rest of the world. By encouraging crypto assets and non-bank finance, the American administration is sowing the seeds of future upheaval. Okay, but who says the banks are good? Let's talk about central banking. That's a big problem. And banks are making massive amounts of profit off of the backs of retail. So yeah, dude, what's going on? And let's be real here. We know the European Central Bank is fairly anti-crypto, so these comments really don't share us, shock us. But what I'm trying to bring up here is the fact that they say that financial crises often originate from the United States and spread to the rest of the world. And what he's saying is that the United States should not go in a strategic reserve, because if there are problems with the bubble bursting, again, talking about those gold bugs like Schiff and so forth, that the problems would spread all over the globe and cause a global catastrophe. So there is now political pressure from the ECB and the Eurozone for Trump to not get big into a BTC strategic reserve. Do you think it's because they didn't buy any and they would miss out on it? It kind of makes me wonder. All right, Michael Saylor. Oh, okay. I know. And don't worry, we're going to get into the stellar XRP news coming up here soon. Michael Saylor. This is where we're starting to really, really be worried about a bubble. And it's the bubble tied to MicroStrategy. Strategy has seen a sharp drop in pay for profits as the price of Bitcoin has failed to recover. The company's total holdings are now worth less than they were previously, with unrealized gains falling below the 9 billion threshold. So think of all those times Saylor was buying the dip at 100,000, 105,000, and so forth. Remember the times he was buying it at 30,000, 15,000. Well, guess what? His average right now is just north of 70,000 per BTC. So he used to have this massive 50% buffer zone of profits, right? Imagine this. Imagine you were in profit with XRP by at least 50%. Then all of a sudden some bad things happen. And your profits dwindle down to where you're only 9% in the green. Yeah, you start freaking out a little bit, don't you? Well, that's what's happening with Saylor. So now here's the really jacked up part. Not only are his paper profits with BTC down to only 9 billion, his company is losing money and has lost money 4 quarters in a row. So we do have a bubble that we have to worry about with everything tied to BTC and MicroStrategy. Now, that being said, will it spread to the rest of the world like the ECB players say? I don't know, because I got to be honest with you. The size of Bitcoin and the size of all that is much, much smaller than the traditional markets. The gold market could eat up Bitcoin without even blinking, right? And you have to think of all the other economic markets out there. The stock market, same thing. The European markets, it's the same thing. So don't get me wrong, Bitcoin is big. But when you zoom out, it's really not that big compared to the rest of the other markets out there. But there's a bubble forming. And a lot of players are like, okay, Saylor and Strategy goes down, the ETFs will go, other strategic reserve players will go, and then the US will be in trouble. But the US, right, if they lose out, what do we really lose on? We've been holding the money in a wallet from the seizure of Silk Road. So do we really have anything to lose? Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, it wasn't really there for us to begin with. It's not like we were like, oh, look at our big BTC bags. We got 200,000 BTC. Yeah, from C shit, so it's not like we put our own money into it. That's zero risk BTC, baby. All right, let's learn. Toncoin flips XLM following a 20% surge. The 20% surge came because Pavel is getting a little bit of friendlier treatment from en français, France. Toncoin has surpassed Stellar in market cap. Sorry, Stellar fans, I don't have good news for you. Following a 22% price surge propelling Ton to the cryptocurrency rankings. Toncoin was up 19% in the last 24 hours, but has since, what everyone? Has since pulled back a little bit. Not that much. Not that much. Here, I got it up on the screen right now. Where's Toncoin? And there we go. All right. Up 21% last 7 days. Compared to Stellar, down 1.28%. That's not good. XRP up 389. But either way, Toncoin is moving because Pavel's getting some better treatment from France. He's been in jail in France since August of 2024. They're going to allow him to go outside of the country. That's given Toncoin holders and other players out there like Pantera Capital, who invested in Toncoin. Yeah, that was a venture capital company that invested in Toncoin. Some hope. So that's why you see Ton moving. Now, how does this tie into XLM? Because I want you to think of like the news here. This dude has got like a little bit of a break from jail, and it pumps their coin 20%. Stellar can announce partnership here, and here. Doesn't help out the price at all. So maybe what Stellar should do, and I'm just throwing a little fun in the mix this Sunday morning, maybe Danelle Dixon should do something illegal, get thrown in jail to give XLM holders a chance for a pump, like what I did there. All right, overall, we are at 19 out of 100, saying we're BTC dominant. The market had a little bit of a pumperoni over the weekend, but then we saw it starting to pull back. XRP saw some juicy prices, but couldn't hold the action. Now, let's zoom into those candlesticks and see exactly what happened, because I didn't get a chance to look at the news at all yesterday because I was running. All right, we hit a high candlestick of 247, but we couldn't hold it. The secondary move right here, you saw, we tried at 245, couldn't hold that. We have since been on a downward trend. Now, part of the reason why the market is feeling this downward trend is because Jerome Powell's meeting is coming up here in a couple days. That's right, the Federal Reserve meeting. And this is the big one with quarterly projections. Now, yes, we did get some good news, right, from our last CPI data report. But that was one good report compared to 4 poopy ones in a row. People are really worried, and by people I'm talking about traders out there in the market, are really worried that Jerome Powell is going to pee in our Cheerios and talk negative. He's going to say stuff like, oh, going to leave rates higher for longer. Oh, we might have to raise rates. Oh, one CPI report is cool, but remember the 4 before it that sucked balls? Yeah, so the market is starting to price in that action. XRP, though, definitely life being breathed in, as this was the highest we've seen since the 7th of March. But again, we couldn't hold that move. And again, we're in the mez zone. It's not high enough to buy or sell, because, you wouldn't be making much on the profit of Renos. And it's not low enough to buy because you could buy it under $2 pretty easy. So we got to hang out and wait and see what JP from the Fed says in a few days. So as we've got this market uncertainty, and as you're seeing gold touch all-time highs and volume for gold being bonkers and central banks stacking more gold and all that kind of stuff, the gold bugs out there are using this as an opportunity to pounce on crypto and say, oh, told you so, told you that we were going to do it and that you weren't. Yeah, but that's kind of their point of view because they're big bag holders, right? Usually if you hold a bag, you don't throw shade at stuff. It's pretty obvious. But the idea that BTC bubble bursting is actually gaining traction. Because when you look at it, Saylor is only up 9% in his BTC holdings. He used to be sitting on a 50% cushion of profit. And now eroded to 9%. And his company's not making any money over the last 4 quarters. Yeah, they've been losing money. So now not only are they losing money, but everything they traded in their future debt for is worth less and less and less. Now, does this mean that if BTC crashes, it's going to cause a economic turmoil for the rest of the world? No, because when you look at the BTC market is this size. Securities markets are like this big. I can't even make it that big because my arms aren't that big. They'd be like this big blob over here. Would that cause pain for the majority of us? Hell yeah, it would, because we're into crypto. And let's be real here. If BTC falls, we know it'll take the rest of the market with us. That's why I'm hoping for good news from Jerome Powell in the Fed, because we freaking need it. By the way, the Fed meeting is on Wednesday. We're going to have a live stream regarding that. Join us, because the last live stream with CPI data was absolutely freaking awesome. Race updates, I'm alive and well. I got a little bit of an injury that happened during the race. No big deal. I can move. I'm just icing certain things. Yeah, I'll go into more depth on what happened once I even kind of gain what happened that day. That was bad English, but basically my brain is fried from running so much, and then I got hurt, and I still tried to run about 6 miles while being hurt, and yeah, that's how that goes. So I'll go into further depth later, but you know the deal, don't you? Choo-choo, bitches.